Let me now take a moment and outline very briefly the 7 acupuncture points that we are investigating in this site and that I believe are necessary to be touched upon in order to move the current economic system from capitalism 1.0 and 2.0 into a 3.0 economy and society. The first one, of course, is Earth and nature. Currently, 60% of all assessed ecosystems are damaged or threatened by our current economic activities. So the main question on the table here is how to rethink and redesign the whole economic process, kind of all economic production and consumption cycles in a way that's completely earth to earth. That it includes kind of the whole ecological dimension of our economic activities. And of course, needless to say, all economic activities in any kind of system starts with nature. That's where essentially where everything comes from and begins, and eventually everything returns to. So how to kind of include that larger cycle in all our economic activities, that is acupuncture point and leverage point number 1. Secondly, to upgrade our economic human rights in a way that gives every single human being on this planet access to not only food and shelter, but also to health, to educational services, and to entrepreneurial opportunities, so that we can develop new ways of shared wealth creation that really serve the well-being of the whole, rather than the benefit of just a few. Number 3, reinventing money and capital. According to a McKinsey study, there are currently $170 trillion floating, or that study was, I think, from 2006 or 7, $170 trillion floating around the earth seeking for profitable investments. While at the same time, we all know, I mean, each of us kind of who's setting up like a social venture, who's setting up a business in the real economy, we know how difficult, how challenging it is to attract actually capital, particularly for ventures that create more social and ecological benefit than they create financial benefit. So when we look at that, it's like kind of a system. So if you compare the current financial flows and the financial system in the economy with the blood system in the human body, you could say that we have a whole lot of, all the focus is on one part of that system. It's like as if all the blood was just circulating in the lower part of the body, say the legs, while another part of the system, say the human brain, is severely lacking blood supply. So what's necessary here in rethinking and reinventing money and capital is really to take into account the whole system, and not only and kind of to redesign money and capital such that it serves the well-being and the health of the entire whole system, rather than just the benefit of Wall Street firms that kind of extract the value that other people create in a way that really damages the health and the viability of the overall system. 4, technology. Technology is changing our life. Technology is changing kind of how we communicate, how we work, how we live our lives. And one of the biggest leverage points as we go through this current transformation and through greening our industries and our society really is to invent new green and social technologies that help us to do so, that help us to access collective intelligence and to give access to these technologies worldwide. Not only kind of, and thereby also redefine the property rights by using more open source type of technology platforms that really empower and allow all of us to participate in that kind of shared mode of knowledge and technology creation and use. 5, leadership. The biggest crisis that we maybe currently have is the crisis of leadership. And I, for example, work in health and large systems changes in health, in education, in sustainability, and also kind of in business systems. And when I look across all the systems, from a leadership point of view, the key challenge in each of these systems is pretty much the same. And it deals with the capacity to pull all the different stakeholders in these systems together to come up with a shared mode of making sense of the current situation, a shared understanding of the deeper systemic forces at play, and then envision and prototype new forms of operating. It is that kind of larger leading kind of innovation in these larger complex systems that's missing today, and that's nowhere nurtured in the current approaches to leadership. Essentially, considering the capacity to sense and to actualize emerging future possibilities as the essence of leadership. Then, number 6, citizen awareness. We all know that essentially kind of any kind of profound shift in our larger system, kind of the transformation in business and society that we all need will not happen at all if we do not shift the inner place from that we operate. And if we do not, access as citizens and as consumers the deeper, if we do not kind of wake up to the deeper power of collectively co-create the economic and the democratic political system that we all participate in and that we can reshape, if we really kind of wake up to the true power that we have collectively, and that given the new forms of leadership we can use to shape and to create kind of new emerging and new futures as we move forward. And lastly, coordination mechanisms. You can take any kind of discussion, any kind of topic or issue, and you will see that the public conversation is falling very quickly into 3 camps. So one group says, well, what we really need is more market here, because that's it's the missing market mechanism that's the problem. Then there's a second camp that says, well, actually we have too much of market. What we need is more regulation. And the third group is saying, well, what we really need is to pull all the stakeholders together and have more multi-stakeholder dialogue. So while all 3 of these positions have a point and kind of reflect a particular coordination mechanism that has evolved throughout history, we now are in a situation where I believe the most interesting challenge that we face and the most interesting challenges that we face force us to come up with a 4th mechanism that deals with seeing and acting from the whole, and that requires us throughout larger system to wake up to another level of awareness that we collectively begin to operate from, and that helps us to essentially make the shift from capitalism 1 and 2.0 to a 3.0 economy and society. So that's a quick outline, 7 acupuncture points. I'm sure there are more. So you're invited to share kind of your experiences in each of these, and also in additional ones, and to bring in your voice into this conversation. Where do you see are the key leverage points that we should focus on as we move kind of from a 2.0 into a 3.0 economy? And what is it that you have learned in kind of creating prototypes around that? So please join this conversation, join this community of pioneers that is trying to kind of really create pathways into the 3.0 economy and society that we all need, and that I believe is the biggest challenge of our generation and of our time. Thank you.